Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be on the 1995 Apple Watch. So this is the same Apple company that makes the smartphones, laptops, computers. They released their first watch technically in 1995. And this watch has actually gotten quite a bit of coverage. It was featured in Hodinkee, I think a few years ago. And even like VSauce, they made a video on this particular watch. And I was able to find this watch in Japan of all places. So just a bit of background. The Apple as a company has existed for quite a while, and they made their first smartwatch that was called the Apple Watch back in 2015. And people don't actually realize that this watch was released in 1995, and it was released as a promo item to promote and kind of encourage customers to install or upgrade to Macintosh System 7.5. So basically this was like a promo item back in the day, and it's kind of relatively unknown, of course, until those articles came out. So, I want to show it to you guys to see, what would Apple create if they were to create a classic quartz watch? Because to my understanding, this is one of the few quartz watches, like the standard analog quartz watches that Apple produced. So you can see, again, this is a watch from 1995. So the design is quite interesting. So let's start by looking at the dial. You can see this is quartz with the Japanese movement. I'm not sure where they sourced it from, but probably Seiko will be my best guess, or Citizen. You don't have any hour markers. You just have these metal markers at 3, 6, and 9, and 12 o'clock. You have these geometric shapes for the hour and minute hands, and you have this kind of squiggly yellow seconds hand, which is kind of interesting and makes it a little bit difficult to read the seconds hand. Not that it's that important. But most interestingly, I'm going to zoom in here. That is an older Apple logo. Apple, in terms of their design, and a lot of companies have switched to more traditional, more minimalistic designs. But this was the era of Apple and a lot of other companies where things were very colorful, very vibrant. In today's world, it would be seen as tacky. And I do think it looks a little bit tacky, but again, you got to consider the time point that this was released. Now you do have a bezel. I'm not sure the reasoning behind the bezel. Like you have these metal markers at the 3, 6, 9, 12. Again, I'm not sure what the purpose is. It's probably more of a design standpoint than a functional standpoint. But you have that deep blue. I put this into ChatGPT, and I think this is an aluminum bezel. This is likely mineral crystal, not domed. It's quite flat. In fact, it's actually slightly sunken in. So blue aluminum bezel. The case is interesting. You see you don't have those traditional lugs. Kind of has a stepped formation. I think it's rusting. I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of oxidized. I don't think it's supposed to look like that. And you can see that middle layer. Again, it's a little bit decolored, desaturated. Might be just due to some oxidation. You have the blue case on the back, and then here you can see Japanese movement, stainless steel back, and a contemporary design, whatever that means. And I haven't changed the battery because when I purchased it, the battery was already changed. If you look at the crown here, again, very interesting crown. It kind of juts out a fair amount relative to the watch case. This is actually probably not the best in terms of function. If you have a crown like this, it's probably more likely to get damaged. But if I pull it out, I think I pulled it out. Yeah. So you can adjust it just like any other quartz watch. We'll adjust it to, let's say, I don't know what time that is. That's probably like 1:45, 1:55. I can't tell because there's no hour markers. But it works like a typical quartz watch. No issues there. Not sure what the water resistance would be with a watch this old. Moving on to the strap. So this kind of feels like a Casio strap. So I'm assuming this is either some like soft plastic or maybe rubber. I want to say plastic. What's kind of cool though is that you see here, it says Mac OS on the bottom part of the strap. This Mac OS wasn't called Mac OS in 1995. It was actually called Macintosh System. But then in 1996, they switched to Mac OS. So they actually switched the name, or they showed the new name before it was actually released. So I don't know if that was a design choice or like a sneak peek for people who got this watch. You can see you have the same blue metal that's similar to the case. So I think the strap is not the most durable. I think the video by VSauce or someone, they mentioned that when they got the watch, the bracelet or the strap was damaged, so they had to switch it, which you can, because it is a traditional watch with traditional lugs, so you can easily swap it out. But I feel like having that macOS strap is kind of part of the look of the Apple Watch. Let me get the calipers out. This is a pretty small watch. I would say it's unisex. I would say it's about like 35 millimeters in case size. Lug to lug is about around like 44.4, 44, I would say. The lugs are, let's see, it's probably 17 millimeter lugs. I'm kind of getting 0.5s here, but probably 17 millimeters. And the height, it's pretty thin, like 9 millimeters. So this is a 35 millimeter watch with like a 43, 44 millimeters lug to lug. So let's put it on my wrist. I have a 6-inch wrist as reference. You can see there's 2 strap holes or loops, but they kind of move around, what makes it a bit difficult to put on. So that's what it looks like. So again, 35 millimeter case. It fits both. It's a unisex watch. It can fit both genders, multitude of sizes. And it's honestly not the most comfortable watch, and that's due to this plastic strap. It could be more comfortable. So if you really cared about comfort, you probably could swap it out for something different. All right, and to the end of the video, who is this watch for? I think it's someone who's really interested in Apple's history. So if you're a huge Apple fan, I think this is really cool to have to your collection. Otherwise, if you're just into watches that have like a unique story, because again, there's not that many quartz Apple watches. I think there might be a few others out in the market for different reasons, but it's kind of cool to see that this was released 20 years before the smartwatch equivalent was released. And, it's just going to get more and more rare as time goes on. In terms of me, do I like this watch and am I going to keep it? I think I'll keep it. I'll be honest, I think the design is quite outdated. I think if Apple released a watch like this today, they would probably get criticized pretty heavily as being like a watch that's too tacky, not very aesthetically pleasing. Because honestly, if I saw this watch at a garage sale and I didn't see the Apple logo, I would just think it's like another random quartz watch, because that's kind of what it looks like. But when you kind of look at it for longer, you kind of understand the history, you can grow to appreciate it more. And if you're looking to purchase it yourself, again, because it's gotten relatively decent coverage recently, the prices I think have gone up. I think it's somewhere around 300 to 500 Canadian dollars. So what is that, like 200 to 400 USD? And it really depends on if the strap is there, is the watch working, if there's the original box, which this one didn't come with. I don't know if anyone would actually keep the original box for this, but if you could, that'd be amazing. So yeah, try and find one around the $300 mark, even less. I don't think this watch is worth $500, to be honest. But again, if you can find a deal, if you can find it at a garage sale, that'd be amazing. And let me know if you can actually find a deal like that. But anyways, that is it for the 1995 Apple Watch. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed these videos where I kind of show watches that you typically don't see on an everyday channel. Be sure to subscribe for more videos. And as always, see you guys next time.